All right, so in the last video that I made, I talked about how to identify your calling. So this video right here is going to be 5 steps on how to prepare for your breakthrough blessing. And this video really is like a second part of that last video, because once you have identified your calling, now we're going to get you ready to receive that blessing, that breakthrough blessing. And check it out. We're blessed every single day that we wake up, every single day that God gives us another opportunity to get to know him, that God gives us another chance to even talk to him, that God puts breath into our lungs is a blessing. Every time we have food on the table, family to talk to, it's a blessing, right? But when I say a breakthrough blessing, I'm specifically talking about that blessing that could change an entire generation of your family. I'm talking about that blessing that is so big that you could literally become a blessing to other people. When other people need resources, they can just come to you and you could say, look, I'm gonna give you some money. I'm gonna give you some food. I'm gonna give you a place to stay because I have an abundance and God has blessed me. So now I can be a blessing to you. So that's what I'm talking about when I say a breakthrough blessing. So let's get into it. 5 steps to help you prepare for the breakthrough blessing. All right, so step number 1 to prepare for this breakthrough blessing, you have to figure out what your calling is, because you have to give God something to bless. If God does not have something to pour into, it's going to be hard for you to receive a blessing on the scale that you are asking God to bless you on. Because think about it like this. Y'all remember that story in the Bible where this woman, she goes to the prophet. I forget the prophet's name, but she goes to the prophet and she says, yo, look, my husband just passed away. You know, he was a man of God. And I don't know how I'm going to support myself. I don't know how I'm going to feed my family. I need help. The prophet said, look, God's going to bless you, but you need to go in your house and you need to get every jar that you have and God is going to fill it. We have to give God something to bless. All right. And I'll give you something just in my situation, because a lot of these steps is going to be based on what I've experienced and what I've seen in my own life on my walk with God. But in my situation, you know, I feel like my calling is communicating with people on social networks, communicating through video, explaining the gospel through video and connecting with people. And it's something that I really want to do is I want to build a Christian media company, a Christian media organization, to where we have producers, to where we have editors, to where we have writers, to where we have on-camera talent. I want this to be such a big organization. But here's the thing. I could sit here and I could post one YouTube video a week and I could say, all right, God bless it. Take it viral, make it get 10 million views, connect me with people, connect me with other YouTubers, connect me with other influencers, make the connections for me, God. I can sit here and just do the bare minimum and say, look, I'm doing something. I'm stepping out in faith. At least I'm doing something. Or I could do what the Bible says in that story and get every single jar that I have so that God can bless it. So that's why I try so hard to post as many videos as I can. That's why I try so hard to work as hard as I can. And look, my pastor said something that really stuck with me. He said, work like it's all on you, pray like it's all on God, because it is. Work like it's all on you, pray like it's all on God. Step number 1, identify your calling and go hard in your calling. Work as hard as you can within your calling. Give God something to bless. Lay out every jar that you have so that God can bless it and he will pour into it and he will bless you. But if you're just sitting back doing the bare minimum, walking in faith, but not actually pushing yourself to work harder, it's going to be harder for God to bless you. Not saying that he can't, but it's going to be harder because you're not giving him every opportunity to bless you. So just like my pastor said, Pastor Miles, he said, work like it's all on you, pray like it's all on God. And if you haven't watched the video where I help you try to identify what your calling is, after you watch this video, go watch that. And then, you know, that will kind of help you figure out what your calling is so that you can really dig into this first step. All right, so step number 2 to help you prepare for that breakthrough blessing, you have to sacrifice your dependencies. and you have to really give up your strongholds. And I'll give you an example. One of my dependencies, one of my strongholds was when I was feeling depressed, and I battle with depression, I battle with anxiety. Still to this day, I still struggle with it. But something that I would do when I was feeling down, when I was feeling lost, when I was feeling like, I needed motivation or inspiration, I would roll up and I would spark up, if you know what I mean. And, I would go to a different space. I would go to a different mindset. And I would do this every single day for years, multiple times a day. And it became a dependency, and it became something that I relied on to give me joy, to give me happiness, to give me clarity, to give me motivation and inspiration above God. I would choose to roll up as opposed to, open up my Bible and pray, as opposed to worship, as opposed to really seeking God. And a part of that, it really made my heart callous to a lot of what God was trying to do in my life, because I was trying to hold on to these dependencies as if God wasn't enough. Instead of seeking the source, I was trying to find my source of inspiration through an artificial source, as opposed to going to the source. And that ultimately showed God that I didn't have enough faith in him to be all that I needed exactly when I needed it. So that's why you have to identify what are your dependencies, what are your strongholds. And this is going to be different for everybody. It could be music, it could be TV shows, it could be like me, rolling up substances, alcohol. It could be a person, it could be a relationship, it could be your friends, it could be anything. What is your stronghold? What is your dependencies? Sacrifice those dependencies to God. Allow God to be the number one source for all that you need. Allow him to truly be ruler of your life. Because until that happens, you're always going to have a lack of faith. Because if you're not truly giving God all of you and all of your dependencies and relying on God for everything, then that shows that you don't actually have your full and complete faith in him. So if you don't have your full and complete faith in God, then how is he going to give you that breakthrough blessing? How is he going to come through? Faith is the currency that we need. We need to take every opportunity that we can in our life to increase our faith. And a part of that is letting go of our dependencies, letting go of our strongholds, and trusting and abiding in God and letting him truly be Lord of our entire life. All right, so step number 3, in order to help you prepare for that breakthrough blessing, you have to fully fall in love with God. And hear me out. Because a lot of y'all like, hold on, wait, I love God. I do love God. But listen to what I'm saying. You have to fully fall in love with God. And here's the heart posture. Even if he doesn't bless you, even if he doesn't come through at the level that you are wanting him to come through, you have to say, God, I will still serve you. I'm still grateful. I'm still thankful to even know you. I'm still grateful. I'm still thankful to even have a relationship with you. Even if you do not bless me at the level, at the magnitude that I am hoping and praying for, God, I am not going anywhere. I'm just thankful to know you. Just the fact that I know you is enough. Just the fact that I can talk to you is enough. Just the fact that I can have a relationship with the all-powerful, omnipresent God of this universe, that's enough. You have to fully fall in love with God. Don't just love God for what he can do for you, but love God for who he is. Love God for who he is, because ultimately, look, he can bless us, but ultimately, this is all like somewhat material stuff. Yes, we're asking for blessings so that we can be a blessing to other people, so that we can give them resources, so that we can get other people saved. But this is still, to some extent, this is still material stuff that we're asking for. And a lot of this material stuff is going to stay here on this earth. And we're going to go to heaven with God, and we're going to be with Jesus. And it's not going to matter what he gave us here on earth. It's going to matter what our relationship is with him. So we have to fall more in love with God for who he is than what he can do for us. All right. And this leads me to number 4. And this really goes with number 3. But you have to understand that if God chooses to bless you, you have to understand that it was never really yours to begin with. This blessing was never really yours to begin with. It was always his. You were just a vessel in order for him to bless. God is going to bless regardless. He's looking for a vessel that he can use to bless, but that blessing was his. He's just using you as a vessel in order to make that blessing come to pass here on earth, in order to glorify him, in order to bring people closer to Jesus, in order to provide for his sons and daughters. But it was never really yours. It was never really yours to begin with. It was always his. It was always his. And just like I said, there's going to be a time where we go back home, where we go. The Bible says that he is preparing a place for us in his house. The Father is preparing a place for us in his house. There's going to be a time where we got to go back home and be with the Father for eternity. It was never really yours to begin with. So stop feeling like, oh, just because I pray all the time, and just because I fast, and just because I read my Bible, and just because I worship, just because I gave up, my dependencies, just because I gave up my strongholds, I deserve this blessing. Stop feeling like that, because you don't deserve anything. And if God chooses to bless you, it's from the grace and mercy of his own heart, not because you did anything, but because he wants to use you as a vessel in order to bless other people, in order to bring people closer to God, in order to glorify the kingdom. All right. So it was never really yours to begin with. That's the mindset. That's the heart posture that you have to get to in order to prepare for this breakthrough blessing that you're asking God for. And step number 5, and this is probably my favorite one, you got to drop your pride, your ego, and your entitlement. You have to drop all of those things and look at King Solomon. Look at King Solomon. Yes, King Solomon, he had a great fall, right? He had a great fall. But look at what happened when David died. When David died and passed the throne to King Solomon had every reason to feel entitled. He had every reason to have pride. He had every reason to feel like he deserved it. But if you look in the Bible, what does King Solomon ask God? One of the first things that King Solomon asks God when he is given this kingdom, he says, God, I am a ruler of many people, but I feel like a child. I am a king, but I feel like a child. God, give me wisdom so that I can lead your people the way that you would lead them. Give me wisdom. Instead of being entitled, instead of being like, yo, God, I'm supposed to be here. I come from a royal bloodline. You know who my daddy is? My daddy is King David, a man after your own heart. I'm supposed to be here. This is mine. Instead of being entitled, King Solomon humbled himself. He stripped all his pride, all his entitlement when he did not have to, but he did. And he said, God, I feel like a child. Give me wisdom so that I can do what you would do in order to lead your people. You know what God did? He said, you know what, King Solomon? I'm going to give you wisdom because you are after my heart. You want to serve my people correctly, but I'm also going to give you everything that you didn't ask for. I'm also going to give you riches. I'm also going to give you more than anything than anybody who ever had. King Solomon was the richest man in the world and the richest man who will ever exist. And the reason why he was is because he sought the things of the kingdom first. He dropped his pride. He dropped his entitlement. He dropped his ego. He went to God and he said, how can I use this position? How can I use this blessing in order to serve your people how you would serve your people? A lot of us are coming to the throne and we're thinking, yo, we are entitled to this because we have done X, Y, and Z. And that's why God is not blessing you at the scale that you want him to bless you, because he's looking for a humble heart that he can bless. He's looking for somebody that can drop their pride and say, look, I need help. How do I do this? How do I go about this? And that's exactly what King Solomon did. So look, that's 5 steps to help you prepare for your breakthrough blessing. Let me know what you think in the comments. Once again, if you have not watched my previous video where I talked about how you can identify your calling, I'll link it on this end screen. Go check that out. Let me know what y'all think. Subscribe. I'm out.